Hi everyone.
Hi.
We're back. Sorry we wanted to record outside, but as we mentioned in our last quick update, it's been windy.
Super windy. Like
So
50
windy.
mile an hour gusts yesterday.
So you're probably going to notice some noises of wind pushing the windows and shaking the camper. Don't worry. It's all
We're
good.
fine.
We're good. So let's get on with this. Let's make this quick, huh? All right. So, update. Last time we spoke, we were at Catalina State Park. And after that, we moved on to Iron Mountain.
Which is in Arizona.
All in Arizona, yes. We weren't, I don't know, didn't have a very good vibe about Iron Mountain. It was just kind of desolate and, I don't know, just had kind of a weird vibe about it.
Well, it was also super windy when we were there, too.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
been chasing the
More
wind for 2 months now.
We did see some wild horses there, which was
Yes,
kind of cool.
we did.
But we only ended up being there 2 nights.
Yeah.
And then we went back to the Catalina Mountains, stayed on some state trust land back there. Did I mention I rode about 50 miles of paved trails over in Tucson?
No, it was crazy.
Any 50-plus mile ride deserves a six-pack.
No shit, man.
It's fun. There's a lot of paved trails in the Tucson area that go by the rivers, which are dry. I think the only time they have water is during the monsoon season. But yeah, got to ride a bunch of those trails, which was nice. While the Toyota was getting looked at, we won't get into that. And then we drove up to Mount Lemmon.
Yeah, that was cool. That
Yeah,
was a really
that
pretty
was
drive.
Awesome drive. In fact, we uploaded a video showing some of the highlights of that. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. It's a really sweet drive.
Yeah, we couldn't drive all the way to the top because they still had part of it closed because it's off season, but there was a parking area, so we parked and we walked the last mile and a half up to what we think was the Summit Trail. Trail markings weren't great, but super pretty, really cool rocks, lots of pinks and sparkly and mica, and awesome view up there. Also, they have an observatory up there.
Yeah, and I don't
which was
think
closed to
I
the
don't
public,
think you
but-
actually get to the very peak because of the observatory,
Yeah,
but we went as far as you could.
Yeah, but anyways, it was regardless, it was cool.
Yeah. So after that, after we were done camping at Catalina in the Catalina Mountains, we drove north a bit to some more public lands east of Phoenix. We found some area that was actually heavy OHV, off-road vehicle or off-highway vehicle is what they call them in Arizona.
Yeah, just side note, the reason they call them off-highway vehicles is because most of them are actually street legal. Even though they're not legal on the highways, you'll be driving around and they'll be like one of those
side-by-sides.
just driving on the road. So they're everywhere. And a little info on the state trust land is the federal government gave Arizona a bunch of federal land with the sole purpose of them selling it to developers. So before it's sold to developers, you can buy a state trust pass for camping or activities like OHV, horse riding. They let cattle farmers let their cows graze. But because of this, the land pretty much gets destroyed. But they don't care because they're going to sell it to developers, and then that money goes into the K-12 fund. So there are OHVs everywhere.
Yeah.
Crazy everywhere.
Yeah, and they're just frickin' driving like mad, creating a bunch of dust.
Tearing
But
up the land.
luckily, the area that we found where we camped was pretty much off the beaten path. I mean, there were some OHVs going through, but not as heavy as the other areas. There was one night where a bunch of frickin' pickup trucks drove through, and oh my god, the amount of dust that this train of trucks created was insane. So we're not big OHV fans because they're just creating a ton of dust. They're destroying the lands.
They're
and
noisy.
You know, the water resources are very scarce in the area, so they're washing these things when they're done driving them so they can look all
Right.
pretty for the next ride. So
And they're also complaining about gas prices being high, yet they have tons of gas to go do this. That's crazy. But
yeah.
anyway.
But off our soapbox about
Yes,
OHVs.
regardless.
Cool area to camp, though. We saw
Yeah.
some really cool sunsets. We were by Dutchman State Park. We hiked a really nice trail there, which I uploaded just a real short video of
Yeah.
part of the hike there on our YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
that was cool.
And what did you see when you were walking to a privacy tent?
Saw a diamondback, rattlesnake.
Wow. And hopefully I'll show a video of that right here. It's kind of freaky seeing that.
Yeah, going to the go to the bathroom, and luckily I'm being hyper aware because they tell you they're out and they're active, and sure enough, right across my path, one goes. I was still pretty far away from it, but called Rob. We watched it. It didn't come towards us. He got the video, and that was that.
Yeah, just went in a hole and we never saw it again.
Yep.
So after that, we tried to get out of the dust a little bit. Went to McDowell Mountain Recreation Area, which, if you're a mountain biker, is a sweet place. I did get some really sweet mountain biking in that area. You took a nice hike when I was biking.
Yep. Up. I think it's called Lousy Hill.
That sounds right, yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Could see my Aunt Sheila's neighborhood from up there. It was really cool. But nice park, nice area. We were in the primitive section. Had to drive to get to showers, but it was still it was nice. We were there 4 days.
Sounds right. 4 nights, yeah.
Went and visited Sheila and Ron at their beautiful home in not far from the park, and
Uncle
Uncle
Jerry
Jerry was there too.
Yep.
So I got to visit with him and Liz's 2 of Liz's girls, and hung out by the pool and ate and
Had a
had
couple
some cocktails
cocktails.
and did a ton of laundry and updated our devices, and had packages delivered there, and I don't know, it was very nice of them to accommodate us.
Yeah, it's nice visiting with them.
and nice
we
to
haven't
see
seen
them.
for a while.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since
Yep.
we've seen them because of COVID and their move and whatnot. But yeah, so that was a nice reprise from camping to go hang out at someone's house and actually be social.
Right.
And then
we found a mountain bike for Tracy.
Oh, yeah.
Used mountain bike.
Great bike, I love
yeah.
it.
Pretty sweet mountain bike. We've been,
It's a trek.
we were looking for one for a while, and we just got lucky and found this one for pretty cheap. We had to drive a little bit to get to it and buy it, but yeah, worked out good. She's been riding it like mad.
Yeah, it's actually
Breaking
got
it in.
some good shocks.
It's got a
to
lot of
it,
travel
so
on the front fork, right, Tracy?
whatever that means. But yes, it's quite comfortable.
Yeah. So now we
excuse
both
me.
can mountain bike.
Yep.
What was next?
And then we went to Sedona area,
Sedona.
which was beautiful, but
Very
also
beautiful.
very windy and dusty.
Again.
Crazy windy and dusty.
Damn wind.
That is a very popular area. The rangers actually even told us the week before we were there were 2,000 campers in one of the areas just south of Sedona, between Sedona and Cottonwood. There's part of the Coconino National Forest that's basically desert. But yeah, tore up by campers who are disrespectful to the land and OHVs.
Yeah,
Just
more
everywhere.
OHVs there. The first
tours.
site not the first site. The first site we found was
Oh, that
outside
was-
of the city limits
That was over
by Wet Beaver.
east of Sedona,
Yep.
still in the Coconino forest, but by Wet Beaver recreational area. Cool site, kind of remote. Not a lot of other campers around. Lots of cows though. We had
Yep.
cows visit us every day, which was funny and cool. And
They're
saw some
entertaining.
babies, and that area got windy.
Yep.
So we decided to try to find a different area. But while we were there, we did the Bell Creek, or
It's Bell
number
Trailhead.
13 or
Yeah.
something,
It goes to
to the crack.
an area called the Crack, which maybe we'll show a funny picture
Yes,
of that here.
show the picture.
But yeah, that was a cool hike.
Very cool hike.
Unexpected.
Gorgeous.
You couldn't tell from the trailhead how gorgeous it was going to be, but we hiked back and we were pretty impressed with that. And then at the end, there was actually a swimming area. We didn't swim it. I'm sure it was cold.
Cold, and you have to jump off of high cliffs to get, and then you climb back up.
Yeah. Or find a way down and get in there. There were a couple of people jumping in, but we let them have fun.
And that trail had some of the first, they're called exposures. It's where you're basically walking, on a very thin trail on the side of a rock with a cliff down. I'm getting much more comfortable with that, but it was amazing.
Yeah, cool.
We show some pictures of that.
We also hiked down to the creek, or rode our bikes
down to the creek, which was very cool. There's this one area where we went to where there was a bunch of rocks in the middle that you could, like huge rocks that you could walk out and sit right in the middle of the creek. Very beautiful. It was so good to see water. We hadn't seen water in a while.
Yeah. And dip our feet in it.
Yeah, and actually be able to have an area where there's deciduous trees and not just all pine and juniper and cactus.
Right.
But so that was nice. And then from there we moved over to
closer to Sedona. 525 County Road, whatever.
Yeah.
Forest Road 525.
Forest Road 525. But we also, when we did that hike when we were at Wet Beaver.
Yes. Tracy was referring to the Oak Creek Canyon, the West Fork Trail.
Yeah, also
which is pretty awesome.
Canyon hiking is just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so beautiful, and it's spring, so we're starting to see flowers come out, and the trees get their leaves, and it's temperatures have been pretty warm.
It was hot there, but
unusually
in the
warm
canyon,
for this time of year.
Nice.
They've been getting record highs.
Yep.
So it's nice to go in the canyons because it's cooler.
Yep.
But yeah, that West Fork was really cool.
Yeah.
And then on the way, that road 87?
I want to say 89.
89 goes up to
Flagstaff.
Flagstaff. We didn't go that far, but on the way up there, there's all these campgrounds, and there is, right on the side of the road, a natural spring that you can just go and fill up your water jugs with.
Yeah.
Potable water. So we did that actually a couple times. Yep. But while we were out one day, there's the wind, we found some spots closer to Sedona with a great view of Bear Mountain and some of the other mountains right there.
Yep.
And Bear Mountain hike, which I've read is the hardest hike in Sedona.
What a hike.
We did that. Took us, 5.5 hours? But
But
that was with time up top.
Yeah, I don't
sitting
think it
and
was
having
that
lunch.
Long. It may have felt that long.
Oh, it was long. It was long.
It was a long, strenuous hike.
Very strenuous. Rock scrambling,
Yeah.
like crawling over boulders in some spots.
But
Some exposures, just breathtaking.
I mean, every curve,
views.
yeah,
the God.
views were just amazing. We could even see the snow-capped mountains
in
Flagstaff
yep.
once we got to the
Yep.
top.
And all the red rocks, and just, it was just crazy beautiful.
Yeah. And we moved to this other campsite because we were pretty close to the road at the campsite we moved to, and again, OHVs and all this traffic just blowing dust and just making it kind of miserable.
We moved closer to that area.
Yep. So that was our third campsite in the Sedona area.
But
it was nice.
but we actually had 4. So there was one more. But when we were there, we also hiked Boynton Canyon, which was our longest hike.
That was like 9 miles total.
Yeah. But that had a couple offshoot trails that we did. One to this vista outlook, and another one to this cave, kind of, called the Subway, where it's basically the rock. There's a shape like this, and you can walk in, and then there's some ruins there of cliff dwellings, and that was crazy. Hard to get up to.
Mm-hmm. And then once you're up to it, there's another area where you can go
Didn't go
up
on there.
into the subway where I went. It was crazy. There were a couple of different ways you could go, but basically you were going around this cliff on this exposure. You had to be really careful so you didn't fall
Yeah.
down the cliff.
No.
And then you were in this area where they call the subway. And I did take a couple of videos of it, but they didn't really turn out very well. Maybe I'll show them here, but it was a little intimidating just being over that exposure and kind of crawling over the cliff. So I just did that while Tracy waited for me down at the bottom.
Yeah, because it was, I mean, when he says exposure, we're talking like maybe, I don't know how, from my perspective, it looked like it was only this wide.
Yeah, it was maybe a foot wide.
Yeah, that you had to walk on. I'm like, nah, not doing that.
It was crazy, but I tell you what, it was pretty amazing. Just checking it out and going around there. So yeah, that
and
was
then-
the Boynton Canyon Trail. And then we also went to some national heritage sites
Oh.
in the area. One of them we wanted to hike, but we found out it was by reservation
Yeah,
only.
you had to, because it was small groups and there was, the heritage site is basically, I think, part of a cliff dwelling with petroglyphs. It would have been cool to see, but we
Yeah.
just didn't plan well enough. But
So-
they keep the groups small, so to protect that area.
So we went to a Loy Canyon hike, which was at another heritage site down the road.
Which we also didn't go to the heritage site because it was hard to get to. You basically needed for high clearance for
Yeah.
wheel drive to get to it. But yeah, Loy Canyon was nice. Rob did a lot of biking.
Yeah, I biked. I went one day and biked about 25 miles on the trails. And there were some amazing trails there for biking too. There was one area that was very intimidating, another exposure area, where basically you're hiking on or biking on the side of this mountain, and it's like this big concave mountain that you're just biking on the ridge of it. It was very intimidating, but I wanted to do it to experience it, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking at a couple of moments, but had a great time.
Yeah. Then Rob's brother John was also in Arizona, and we had to meet him. He brought us some stuff, and we had stuff for him to take back. So we moved to an area east of Sedona,
Yep.
up in the Coconino forest, like actual forest, like huge pine trees
Yeah.
and just beautiful, just forest, which I was missing so much.
That was a nice
And
change.
the first 4 days we were there, it was amazing.
Perfect.
Peaceful.
No one around.
Yeah. And then the Thursday before Easter, the OHVers came back.
Yep.
And yeah, then it got noisy and dusty, and it was nice to see John. John came and hung out with
Yeah,
us for a
it's
day.
awesome. Visited with him for several hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we stayed there for a few more days, and then
There was a really cool trail we hiked
oh
there
yeah,
too.
we did.
Um,
That was also a little canyon.
Yep.
I forget what it was called, Pinion or Pinion
Yeah,
or
I forget. I was biking one day, and then I just found this trail and checked it out, and it was freaking amazing. So
we hiked it and then
Yeah.
biked it.
yep. So
too.
Tracy and I went back and explored it together, and
Yeah.
wow, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Some parts were too hard. I had to walk my bike, but
It's all good.
it was still cool. Then
from there,
we came back to New Mexico.
New Mexico, Villanueva State Park.
Yes, which is also in a canyon.
Yep.
Beautiful, with a river that went through it. We got to have some riverside camping.
Yeah, I camped right by the river. Got to hear the river at night
Yeah.
when we're sleeping.
Tons
that
of
was
birds.
so nice.
Spring is in bloom. It was beautiful, peaceful.
Hmm.
No OHV is allowed in that park, so it was nice. We actually extended our stay there because there's wildfires near there, and actually kind of near where we're at right now. And we were going to go to another park that was getting a lot of smoke, so we decided to stay where we were, but we had to move. There was another campground,
Upper campground.
an upper campground, which was amazing too. beautiful views of the canyon. But yeah, that's it. We
Yeah.
miss you guys. Love you
Miss
all.
you. Love you all.
And yeah, we'll hopefully update you soon.
Yep. Until next time, peace out.
Love you guys. Bye.